Welcome back to part 2. Kunle thought the worst was over. He believed once Sharon walked out of his mansion, she had walked out of his life forever. But Sharon was not a woman who accepted defeat. Humiliated, jealous, and burning with anger, she was already planning something that could destroy everything Kunle had begun to rebuild. Meanwhile, Kunle and Rejoice were growing closer. What started as a strange night of rescue was slowly turning into something deeper, something powerful. But love between a billionaire and a simple girl from the streets of Lagos was never going to be easy. Because Sharon wasn't the only problem. Kunle's family was about to find out about Rejoice, and not everyone would welcome her. Will Kunle choose love over status? Will Sharon succeed in tearing them apart? And what secret from Rejoice's past could change everything? The drama is just getting started. If you're enjoying this intense Nigerian romance story filled with betrayal, jealousy, and unexpected love, like this video, drop your predictions in the comments, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next part. Because part 2 will reveal a secret that could shake Kunle's world again. 3 weeks had passed since the morning Sharon stormed into Kunle's mansion, and in those 3 weeks, something unexpected had grown between Kunle and Rejoice. It wasn't rushed, it wasn't dramatic, but it was real. Rejoice still lived in her small rented apartment, still worked her catering jobs, and still refused to let Kunle spoil her too much. Kunle, on the other hand, found himself smiling more often. The staff in the mansion had noticed. Oga Donde laughed these days, one maid whispered in the kitchen. Another replied, "That Rejoice girl carry good spirit come this house." That evening, Kunle drove himself to Surulere. Rejoice had refused to give him the address for days. "You go send driver come pick me," she had argued. "Why?" he asked. "Because rich people know they visit poor people house, na rule." Kunle laughed that day. "Then I'm breaking the rule." Now he stood outside her apartment building. It was simple. 3 floors, peeling paint, children playing football outside with a plastic bottle. Kunle stepped out of his Bentley. Everything stopped. The boys froze. One whispered loudly, "Omo, not Bentley be that." Another ran inside shouting, "Mama, Billionaire don't reach our compound." Kunle rubbed his forehead. "Rejoice go kill me." By the time he reached her door, half the compound had gathered. An elderly woman leaned toward another. "I tell you say that girl fine. See result." Another replied, "Maybe she win bet ninja." Kunle knocked. The door opened. Rejoice stood there wearing a simple yellow dress. She froze. Her eyes widened. "Kunle?" He smiled nervously. "Good evening." She stepped outside quickly and closed the door behind her. "What are you doing here?" "I came to see you." She gestured dramatically toward the watching neighbors. "See audience." One child shouted, "Uncle Bentley." Kunle tried not to laugh. Rejoice crossed her arms. "You see why I said don't come?" Kunle shrugged. "I wanted to know where my future negotiations partner lives." She squinted at him. "You like trouble." A neighbor called out loudly, "Rejoice, introduce us." She shouted back, "Mind your business." Kunle burst out laughing. "You're famous." She groaned. "My landlord go increase rent tomorrow." Kunle replied casually, "I told you, I'll buy the building." She pointed at him. "If you try it, I will move." He raised his hands in surrender. Okay. Eventually she allowed him inside. Her apartment was small but neat. Clean white curtains, a small couch, family photos on the wall. Kunle noticed one photo of a younger Rejoice with an older woman. "Your mom?" he asked gently. She nodded. "She passed 2 years ago." His voice softened. "I'm sorry." She shrugged slightly. "Life happens." To lighten the mood, she walked to the small kitchen corner. "I cooked jollof rice earlier. Is Billionaire stomach fit manage poor people food?" Kunle grinned. "Madam, I grew up in Ibadan before money came." She raised an eyebrow. They sat on the couch, eating from simple plates. Kunle took a bite. His eyes widened. "This is the best jollof I've eaten this year." She smirked proudly. "Better than 5-star hotel?" "Much better." After dinner, the laughter faded into a comfortable silence. Kunle studied her carefully. "Rejoice." She looked at him. "Yes? Why don't you ever ask me for anything?" She blinked. "What kind question be that?" "Most people do." Then said quietly, "Because I didn't help you that night to collect reward." Her honesty hit him again. She continued softly, "And because I don't want to be another Sharon story." Kunlei's expression changed. "You could never be." She held his gaze. "You don't know that yet." Outside the compound, a black SUV slowly stopped. Inside sat Sharon. Her eyes burned as she watched through tinted glass. Kunlei's Bentley was parked clearly outside Rejoice's building. "So this is where she lives," Sharon whispered bitterly. Beside her sat Femi. He shook his head slowly. "Sharon, let it go." But Sharon's voice turned cold. "No." Her eyes narrowed toward the apartment building. "If I can't have Kunle, she won't either." Inside the apartment, Kunle and Rejoice were laughing again, unaware that just outside, jealousy had returned. And this time, it wasn't coming to argue, it was coming to destroy. 2 weeks passed after Sharon's dramatic scene in Rejoice's compound. Life seemed to return to normal. But in Lagos high society, nothing stayed quiet for long. One evening, Kunle stood in front of the mirror inside his walk-in closet, adjusting the cuff of his black Desire suit. Tonight was important. The Adebayo Group annual charity gala. Every major business leader in Lagos would be there. Politicians, CEOs, socialites. And for the first time, Kunle wanted Rejoice beside him. Rejoice stood nervously in the living room of Kunle's mansion while the stylist finished adjusting her gown. The house staff kept stealing glances at her. She barely recognized herself in the mirror. Her caramel skin glowed under the chandelier lights. The deep red gown hugged her figure perfectly, flowing down to the marble floor. Her hair was styled into soft waves. Kunle walked down the staircase and stopped halfway. For a moment, he forgot to breathe. "Wow." Rejoice shifted nervously. "Don't laugh, oh." He descended the steps slowly. "I'm not laughing." He stopped in front of her. "I'm trying to understand how the same girl that forced me to sit on the floor looks like this." She smirked. "Upgrade." Kunle shook his head, smiling. "Dangerous upgrade." The Bentley pulled up in front of the five-star hotel hosting the event. Camera flashes immediately exploded. Reporters whispered excitedly, "Oga Kunle is here." But then they noticed something else. A woman stepped out beside him. Gasps spread through the crowd. "Who is she? Is that his new girlfriend?" Rejoice froze slightly. Kunle noticed and gently held her hand. "Relax," he whispered. "I've never entered a place like this," she murmured. He leaned closer. "Then tonight, you're the star." The ballroom sparkled with luxury. Crystal chandeliers, golden tables, soft violin music in the background. Wealthy guests mingled elegantly. But as Kunle and Rejoice entered, conversations paused. Eyes followed them. Some curious, some judgmental. One socialite whispered loudly, "That must be the girl from the gossip blogs." Rejoice heard it. She leaned toward Kunle. "They already gossip." Kunle shrugged calmly. "They're bored." A wealthy businessman approached Kunle. "Kunle, long time." Kunle shook his hand. "This is Rejoice." The man smiled politely. "Nice to meet you. What do you do?" Rejoice thought for a second. "I rescue drunk billionaires from roadside." Kunle almost choked on his drink. The businessman blinked awkwardly. "Ah, interesting." As he walked away, Kunle whispered, "You're going to destroy my reputation." She smiled proudly. Too late. Across the ballroom, a pair of furious eyes watched them. Sharon, dressed in a stunning silver gown, her nails dug into her clutch purse. Standing beside her was Femi. He sighed quietly. "I told you this would happen." Sharon's voice was ice cold. "Look at her." Across the room, Rejoice laughed at something Kunle said. Comfortable, confident, happy. Sharon's jealousy burned hotter. "She doesn't belong here." Femi shook his head. "Neither do we if we keep chasing them." Sharon ignored him. Her gaze sharpened. "Tonight, everyone will know who she really is. The trap begins." At that moment, a waiter approached Rejoice politely. "Ma'am, someone asked me to give you this envelope." Rejoice frowned slightly. "Who?" "I'm not sure." She opened it slowly. Inside was a printed photograph. Her face instantly went pale. Kunle noticed. "What's wrong?" She stared at the photo. It was an old picture of her. From years ago, a moment from a past she never told Kunle about. Her hands began to shake. Kunle took the photo from her. His expression slowly changed. Rejoice. Across the room, Sharon smiled slowly. Her track had just been sprung, and tonight, the entire ballroom was about to witness a scandal. The ballroom lights suddenly felt too bright. The music still played softly, but for Rejoice, the world had gone silent. Her hands trembled. Kunle held the photograph tightly, staring at it. Rejoice, he said slowly. The picture showed her standing outside a small police station years ago, surrounded by 2 officers. Her clothes looked worn, her face tired, and someone had scribbled a caption on the bottom of the printed image. Former theft suspect, case file 2019. Rejoice closed her eyes briefly. That was a long time ago. Kunle looked at her carefully. You were arrested? Before she could answer, a voice cut through the room. Oh good, you got the envelope. Sharon stepped forward confidently from across the ballroom. Every step of her silver heels echoed across the polished floor. The nearby guests turned their heads immediately. Something dramatic was about to happen. She stopped a few feet from Kunle and Rejoice. Her smile was sweet, but her eyes were poison. Kunle, she said smoothly, I just thought you deserved to know who you brought into high society. Whispers began spreading among the guests. What's happening? Did she say theft? Rejoice felt the weight of dozens of judging eyes. Kunle's voice remained calm. Explain yourself, Sharon. She laughed lightly. Oh, I will. She raised another copy of the same photo. This girl, Sharon announced loudly, was once arrested for stealing money from her former employer. Gasps erupted around the ballroom. Some guests pulled out their phones. Others leaned closer to hear the scandal. Rejoice finally spoke. Her voice was quiet but steady. I didn't steal anything. Sharon clapped slowly. That's what every thief says. Kunle turned toward Rejoice. Tell me the truth. She looked directly into his eyes. I worked as a house help when I was 19. My employer's money disappeared. She swallowed hard. They accused me. Kunle frowned. Were you convicted? No. Her voice shook slightly. The police released me when they found out their son took the money. Kunle looked down at the photograph again. So why does it say suspect? Rejoice sighed. Because accusations travel faster than truth. Sharon laughed loudly. Oh please, are we really believing this story? She turned to the guests dramatically. This is the girl Kunle Adebayo brought to his charity gala. Some guests whispered judgmentally. One socialite muttered, These poor girls always have stories. Another said quietly, I knew something was off. Rejoice felt her chest tighten, not because she was ashamed, but because she hated being looked at like she didn't belong. Kunle slowly folded the photograph. The ballroom fell quiet. Everyone waited for his reaction. Would he defend her or walk away? He turned toward Sharon calmly. You came here just to embarrass her? Sharon crossed her arms. I came to protect you. Kunle let out a quiet laugh. She froze slightly. Then he stepped closer to Rejoice, placed his hand gently around hers. The entire room watched. I trust her. The words echoed loudly. Sharon's smile disappeared instantly. You can't be serious. Kunle's voice became firm. Everyone has a past. He looked directly at the crowd. Some of us just hide ours better. The ballroom went silent. Rejoice stared at him in disbelief. He didn't doubt her, not even for a second. Sharon's composure cracked. You're humiliating yourself. Kunle shook his head. No, Sharon. He looked at her coldly. You did that the night I opened that bedroom door. The crowd gasped again. Now the gossip had turned against her. Femi, standing nearby, covered his face in embarrassment. Kunle turned back to Rejoice. Let's go. She nodded silently. They walked out of the ballroom together, while whispers followed them. But this time, Rejoice wasn't walking alone. Kunle held her hand firmly, and he didn't let go. The cool night air felt refreshing after the tension inside. Rejoice finally spoke. You shouldn't have defended me like that. Kunle looked at her. Why? Because your reputation. He cut her off gently. My reputation will survive. Then he added softly, "But if you ever lied to me, that wouldn't." She held his gaze. "I told you the truth." He nodded. "I know." But just as they were about to enter the Bentley, Kunlei's phone rang. He answered. His expression changed instantly. "What?" Silence. Then his voice hardened. "Are you serious?" Rejoice frowned. "What happened?" Kunle lowered the phone slowly, his eyes dark. "My company servers were hacked." Rejoice blinked. "What?" He looked back toward the hotel entrance, where Sharon was still standing, watching them, smiling. And suddenly, Kunle had a terrifying suspicion. The cool night air outside the hotel suddenly felt heavy. Kunle stood beside the Bentley, phone still in his hand. Rejoice watched his face carefully. "What happened?" she asked again. Kunle exhaled slowly. "My company servers were hacked." Rejoice frowned. "Like someone stole your company information?" Kunle nodded. "Yes, financial data, contracts, internal files." Her eyes widened. "That's serious." "It's worse than serious," Kunle replied quietly. "If those files leak, billions could disappear overnight." Rejoice looked back toward the hotel entrance. Through the glass doors, Sharon was still standing there, watching them, smiling. A cold chill ran down Rejoice's spine. "You think she did it?" she whispered. Kunle didn't answer immediately, but the suspicion in his eyes said everything. They entered the Bentley in silence. The city lights of Lagos blurred past the windows as Kunle drove. His mind was racing. Sharon had always been dramatic, jealous, possessive. But hacking his company? That was something else entirely. Rejoice broke the silence. "Maybe it's not her." Kunle glanced at her briefly. Maybe. But deep down he wasn't convinced. 30 minutes later, the Bentley pulled into the underground garage of Kunle's corporate headquarters in Victoria Island. The building towered above the city skyline. Inside, the atmosphere was tense. Employees moved quickly through the hallways. Computer screens flashed warning messages. Kunle's chief technology officer rushed toward him. "Oga Kunle, thank God you came. How bad is it?" Kunle asked. The man swallowed. "They breached the internal network." Kunle's eyes darkened. "Can they access financial accounts?" "We shut everything down immediately," the CTO replied. "But whoever did this, they knew exactly where to look." Rejoice stood quietly beside Kunle, observing everything. The power, the pressure. This was Kunle's real world. Not the quiet apartment, not the laughter over jollof rice. This was war. Suddenly one of the IT staff shouted, "Sir!" Everyone rushed to the large monitor. A black screen appeared. Then white text slowly typed itself across the screen. "Good evening, Mr. Adebayo." Kunle's jaw tightened. The message continued, "You should have chosen Sharon." Gasps filled the room. Rejoice felt her stomach drop. Kunle stepped closer to the screen. So it was her. Another message appeared. "This is just the beginning." Then the screen went black again. The room was silent. Kunle's hands clenched into fists. She crossed the line. His CTO looked worried. "What do we do?" Kunle's voice became cold. "We fight back." He turned to his legal advisor. "Contact cybercrime authorities immediately." Then he turned to the IT team. "I want every system protected tonight." Rejoice watched him carefully. She had never seen him like this. Calm, but dangerously determined. Later, when most of the staff were busy, Rejoice gently touched Kunle's arm. "You okay?" He sighed. "I will be." She hesitated. "This is my fault." Kunle looked at her sharply. "No." "If she wasn't jealous of me," he stopped her. "Sharon didn't do this because of you." He paused. "She did it because she lost control." Kunle's phone buzzed again. Another message. But this one wasn't from his company. It was a private number. He opened it slowly. A photo appeared on the screen. Rejoice leaned closer. Her heart skipped. The photo showed her apartment building in Surulere, taken just minutes ago. A second message followed. "Nice neighborhood." Rejoice's face went pale. Kunle's expression turned deadly serious. Sharon wasn't just attacking his company anymore. She was targeting Rejoice. Kunle looked at her firmly. "You're not going back there tonight." Rejoice whispered, "Kunle, she knows where I live." His voice dropped dangerously low. Then she just made the biggest mistake of her life. But across the city, inside her luxury apartment, Sharon sat on her couch, sipping wine. A laptop glowed on the table beside her. She smiled slowly, because the real game had only just begun, and in this game, she had nothing left to lose. The tension that had gripped Lagos for weeks finally reached its breaking point. Kunle's company systems had been fully secured. His legal and cybercrime teams traced every digital footprint back to Sharon and her accomplice, Femi. Evidence was undeniable. They had orchestrated the hack, leaked the old photograph, and even tracked Rejoice's apartment. Sharon was summoned by authorities. Her protests, tears, and claims of love lost fell on deaf ears. The media, which had feasted on every scandal, now reported the truth. Billionaire Kunle Adebayo's new love, Rejoice, wrongly accused. Cybercrime investigation exposes malicious ex-girlfriend plot. Sharon's name became a symbol of jealousy and betrayal in Lagos high society. Femi quietly disappeared from public view, humiliated but unrepentant. Meanwhile, life slowly returned to normal inside Kunle's mansion in Ikoyi. Rejoice walked through the marble-floored halls, holding Kunle's hand. "You sure it's really over?" she asked. He smiled down at her. "As sure as the sun will rise tomorrow." They laughed. The staff peeked from the kitchen, whispering, "Oga Kunle finally smiling for good reason." That weekend, Kunle surprised Rejoice again, but this time it wasn't a rescue or a crisis. It was a celebration, a private dinner on the mansion balcony overlooking the Lagos skyline. Soft candles, roses in full bloom, and the warm glow of the city lights below. Kunle held her hand across the table. "Rejoice, I know life hasn't been easy, but I want to spend every day making it better. For you, for us." Rejoice's eyes glistened. "And I'll spend every day making sure we laugh through it, together." He smiled, reaching into his pocket. "Then, will you?" Before she could speak, he gently placed a small, elegant ring in her hand. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, Kunle." He slid the ring onto her finger. And in that moment, the world outside, the jealous exes, the hackers, the whispers, ceased to exist. All that mattered was them. Later, as they sat on the balcony, Rejoice teased, "Next time if you plan to surprise me, maybe don't buy the whole mansion first." Kunle laughed heartily. "Noted. Next time, maybe just a Bentley." Rejoice shook her head, smiling. "You're impossible, Billionaire." "And you love me anyway," he said, pulling her close. Kunle's life was no longer ruled by betrayal or fear. Rejoice's life was no longer constrained by doubt or judgment. Together they had faced jealousy, scandal, and danger, and emerged stronger. The mansion in Ikoyi was no longer just a symbol of wealth. It was a home built on trust, love, and laughter. And in Lagos, the story of the billionaire who found love in the unlikeliest of places became legendary. Because some hearts are worth fighting for. If you enjoyed this roller coaster of love, betrayal, and triumph, like this story, comment your favorite moment, subscribe for more intense Nigerian romance stories, because in Lagos, love is always dramatic, and the next story is waiting to sweep you off your feet.